Hatred of Russia. Antonio Gill. Alabama Moon. I've been saying for decades that what made so many Europeans hate Russia wasn't communism. Not even before that was Kazrism. The reasons for this go deeper and have roots that seem ineradicable to me. They began with the fact that Russia had assumed Christian orthodoxy, alongside Constantinople and against Rome. And so they went on, especially after the fall of Constantinople, to the Turks in Moscow having claimed its heir, since the Second Rome, Constantinople or Byzantium, had been converted into the capital of the Ottomans and, in a way, was the last remnant of Muslim rule, via the Turkish Empire. The Western Roman Empire, Christian, Catholic and Protestant, expanded by sea. The Russian Empire, essentially overland, became Eurasian, reaching the extremes of Asia, Vladivostok, and even beyond it, Alaska, which was sold off by a distressed czar, to the Americans. Here's an article that explains this, albeit through the branch, very well. Note that the owner of this blog was a German spy, not a Russian. And who he cites was also never Russian and in many cases not even Russophile. From the Moon of Alabama blog. Disarming Ukraine, Day 9, Europe increases its own losses. I feel too outraged and frightened about what is now happening in our societies to write about it. I thus continue to quote others at some length. Patrick Armstrong continues to be the best military intelligence analyst on Russia. So far the Russian military operation in Ukraine has been a reconnaissance in force preceded by the destruction of the supplies and headquarters of the Ukrainian armed forces by standoff weapons. The object being to suss out where the Ukrainian forces are, to surround them, to check existing Russian intelligence against reality and, at the same time, destroy known headquarters, air and naval assets, supplies and ammunition depots. And, perhaps, there was the hope that the speed and success, Russian, LDPR forces dominated an area of Ukraine about the size of the United Kingdom in the first week, would force an early end, aka recognition of reality. At the moment they are readying for the next phase. The long column that so obsessed the experts on CNN is the preparation for the next phase. As far as I can see, they've created 3 cauldrons, encircle elements. Probably the most important one is the one around Mariupol, where the main concentration of Azov, the principal Nazi force, is. Another is being established around the main concentration of the Ukrainian armed forces facing LDPR. And there appears to be another developing to the east of Kiev. A super cauldron of all 3 is visible. The Nazis will be exterminated, the ordinary Ukrainian soldier will be allowed to go home. The nightmare question is how many ordinary Ukrainians will be free to choose. M.K. Bajrakumar points out that the now beginning larger war is part of a millennium-old conflict within the Christian belief. At the core is the feud among Christians that began with the Great Schism of 1054, when the main church at that time, based in Rome, split into 2 divisions, Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox. They have since come to be the 2 largest denominations of Christianity. The Euro-Atlantic leaders will shy away from admitting that this ancient feud all along complicated Russia's inclusion in any common European home, just as the European Union, a Christian club, will never admit Turkey as a member. The feud within Christianity began intensifying in the recent decade or two with Russia's resurgence under Putin's leadership, when Russian Orthodox Church entered a golden era of state patronage. The Ukraine crisis cannot be understood unless we factor in the swirling primeval passions behind the desperate attempt by Euro-Atlantic countries to attack Putin and weaken Russia and, if possible, dismember it, like they did to former Yugoslavia, another Slavic country of Eastern Orthodoxy. It is no accident that 2 sentinels of Roman Catholicism, France, and Poland, and that gladiator of Protestantism, Germany, are at the barricades of the contestation over Ukraine. This is reminiscent of the crusade to conquer pagan areas in the Middle East and recapture formerly Christian territories. Bajrakumar does not mention that the different flavors of Christianity are also exactly what has caused the problems within the Ukraine. The parts of Poland and Romania that were attached to the Ukraine after World War II are predominantly Catholic. These are also the parts where core members of the Ukraine fascist ultranationalists are coming from. The religious split has also underlined the age-old Western racism against Slavs that is currently again prominent. You see, Orthodox Slavs aren't civilized people. Whitney Webb writes that the CIA is creating a new Al-Qaeda. This time as a white supremacist right-wing militia. A part of these are mercenaries currently getting recruited by Western security companies. These militia will use all the small weapons NATO countries are now delivering to the Ukraine to attack Russian troops and their supporters. This will have serious backlashes in Poland and Romania from where these troops get deployed. In the longer run it will lead to right-wing terror coming back to those countries who are now supporting these forces. It will also help the long-term trend of right-wing parties increasing their share of votes. Together with the economic devastation that US and European sanctions on Russia are causing in their own economies, this will end in regime changes in several European countries. The US is of course again protecting itself from as much as it can at the cost of others. Tony Wood asks. The question remains, why did all those who for so long foretold this war do so little to stop it, and so much to hasten the disaster Russia has now set in motion? Indeed. Why didn't the government of Germany guarantee in writing that it would veto any additional NATO membership? It would have solved at least half of the problem. Why didn't any other NATO government do so? And what are they doing now? Where are their initiatives for peace? It is over. The Ukraine is gone. Russia has won. Energy and wheat prices have doubled. With inciting a longer fight, Europe only increases its own losses.